Yes, I spent €1,000 in 7 days in Japan, but there's so much more you can learn from episode 4 of the What's the Crack podcast. Currently in the hostel in Kyoto, which is our second location in Japan. We spent 4 days in Tokyo, we're spending about 4 days here. Our next location is Osaka, but this podcast was recorded from our last location in the hostel in Tokyo. We got 5 people, myself, Dimitro, who's behind the camera, Amy, who also came with us to Japan, and 2 random American strangers who we picked to come on the podcast 5 minutes before we started. Talk about everything from food in Japan, the quirks of being here, how much we've spent, and then tips for saving money, which obviously was not given by me because I'm a fucking idiot, aren't I? That's it. I hope you guys enjoy. A vlog will be up on Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Other than that, like the video if you're enjoying these podcast series, and sit back, relax, and enjoy 40 minutes of talking.
This is the What's the Crack podcast.
Okay, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the What's the Crack podcast with your host Thomas Arnold, 21-year-old college student from Ireland, traveling around the world this summer. Currently we're in Tokyo, Japan, and this is the first podcast in a different country other than Ireland. Tonight I am joined, probably this morning because it's 12:30 at night, we are joined by 3 random guests the last 6 minutes. So I guess the topic of this is, myself and Dimitro came to Japan because we wanted to go to somewhere different other than somewhere like Canada, which is where a lot of Irish students would go. And we met Amy along the way, and I guess it's just been sort of a cool experience, and we're just going to have random chats about what's gone on and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess we'll do a bit of a roundtable bit first. Kenneth, do you want to give a bit of a rundown as to like what you do and shit? And
All right.
Glasses are lit as well.
So thank you. So my name is Kenneth. I just got here to Tokyo this morning, and I'm American, but I work for the military, and I live in Germany, and by Frankfurt. So I just wanted to take a really cool, little escape over here. Just feeling a little stressed at home, so I just wanted to go out and party and find somewhere completely new experiences. This is my first time in Asia, and I'm happy I met you guys because this is fun.
So are you part of the military of the US or Germany?
So I'm not military myself. I only work for them. So the way it works is like for the military stuff like computers and all of that kind of stuff, they outsource it, So I was they made a contract with me, and it was like, hey, work for us and do this, this, and this.
Okay.
And sick. I worked for, it was for the U.S. military because they have a base there in Germany.
Sick.
Yeah.
Amy and I met 4 days ago at the airport. She was tossed into a situation where over the past 72 hours, I think Dimitro and I have taken about 6 billion photographs. And she's had to get used to all of that. But she's closer to home because she's in UCD. We're also getting our exam results tomorrow, which is a bit of a scary experience. So yeah. Yeah, go on, Amy. What do you tell us about yourself?
So I'm Amy. I just finished business and law in UCD. I decided to come to Tokyo to visit a friend who's working here, but I kind of hijacked Dimo and Tom on the plane because I realized they were coming too. And yeah, I've just been chilling with them for the few days, witnessing all their videos and drones and learning a lot about technology since I am so not full of technology at all. And yeah, I've definitely watched them take about 6 billion plus photos and been the person who carries the bags around the place. So yeah, no, it's been good fun though. I've learned a lot. So.
And when we're talking about photos, also obviously follow us on Instagram at Thomas Arnold Films and at Dimitro Moiseyev. That's at DMYTROMOYSEY. Yes!
Are you
Right, Will, go on, gives your background there.
So, am I on a video as well?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Will. I'm from the United States. I grew up on Long Island, in Long Island, New York, and then my mom lives in Los Angeles. So I did about a year stint in between university in the University of Pennsylvania, where I studied economics, and then I'm living in Los Angeles, but decided to come to Japan for just a little while so I could kind of travel before I have to kind of work again in Los Angeles. And yeah, I met these guys like a few seconds ago.
And now you're famous.
And now I'm famous. So thank you.
No worries.
Very much.
LA is definitely a destination that, if you're an Irish person anyway, you'd almost aspire to go there? Like, it's seen as like glitz and glamour and stuff, and a lot of cool stuff happens. Having worked there, what's it like in reality?
I've never worked in Los Angeles.
Oh, you've never worked there before?
So my mom lives there. I have to fly back there and start working there. But I don't know how to drive, and in Los Angeles you have to know how to drive to really do anything. So I'll probably work from home when I get back. But I've only worked in San Francisco. So.
Okay. Sick. Sounds cool.
So basically, he's gonna be the spin-off series.
We're just gonna do a documentary series on Will and his like progression in LA. So I'm just gonna, I think you guys will have loads of thoughts about this, but there's some really striking things when we came to Japan that we sort of noticed straight away. When we came here, one of the big things that everybody would have told me is that there's a bit of a culture shock, but it didn't quite happen in the way that I expected. So here's a few of the quirks that we found anyway in Tokyo. Everywhere is spotless. Unlike Ireland, where the streets are filthy pretty much everywhere, except probably on the south side. It's
absolutely zero bins anywhere.
That's what makes it crazy.
You can sit beside Will.
Come. No.
I think Amy had an explanation for that yesterday, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's just kind of Japanese culture that they eat on their own and in their own space, and then that all their waste is down to themselves. So it's kind of like the city doesn't take responsibility for any waste. It's down to the individual themselves to put it away. So that's what they expect of everyone anyway, and they do abide by it, I think. So
yeah. Everyone is also so quiet. Like there's no, in Ireland anyway, you wouldn't see people fighting on the streets, but like you'd hear people, I don't know.
What part of Ireland are you from?
I don't know, you just hear more noise.
Culture of people. You'll see like people in Ireland, they express themselves.
Hold on one sec, we'll move up a little bit.
They express themselves
And
much.
that's the mic, so yeah.
Express themselves much more. So like when you meet a friend, so you do tend to overreact immediately. Hey, what's the crack? How you doing? You don't like just nod and like, how are you?
Yeah.
You really, and I think it's down to the culture of how you kind of brought up.
Yeah. So Kenneth, you've just arrived.
Yeah.
And Will, have you just arrived as well?
A few days.
That's my wallet. Sorry.
sorry.
Oh, you've been here. Keep talking.
So I mean, it's. Yeah, I probably should not say this. So
remember, this is gonna be edited, so you can cut out stuff after.
Yeah, I mean, I probably shouldn't say it, but like the point I'm making, it doesn't really matter. Is basically like I was talking to a guy who grew up in Japan, and who went to international school, so he speaks a lot of English. So he went to school in like Indiana, and I don't want to identify him, but he went to school in Indiana, and he says like Japanese people, if they didn't go to international school, they learn English from like 7th grade onwards, but their English is super bad. And I realized like their English is super bad, and I don't speak. Kind of what I've noticed is I can't talk to anyone who's like natively from the country. But it's fine. I mean, it's just like it's like have you guys watched the movie Lost in Translation?
yeah.
So I don't know what you guys think of the movie. I thought it was super boring, but I definitely get the point of like it's very difficult when you can't talk to a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, I think that's very true, and it's kind of noticeable because living in Germany, everyone obviously speaks German, right? But if you go to like European countries, it's very different, you know, because like here they learn English, but they still can't communicate. But like I've met some Germans whose English is like better than mine. Yeah.
Like I think
By the way, everyone, how ripped is Dimitro? Moving on.
it's funny enough, like that's actually a big like starting point for me to kind of get people noticing me on the streets. Like we walk around and literally
Everywhere.
everyone's like, "Oh, I'm a big Muslim man." Yeah. we went to this monkey store for kids clothes today, and there was a pit with foam bananas. That's a separate story aside. But, so Thomas and I, we
Right, did we want to get an Instagram pic?
yeah, we went in, we got a pic, and then like I did a flexing one, and the woman walking there, she goes, "Oh yeah, big stone Avenger, yes, Avenger." Like, cool, yes.
Even funnier, we were in American Eagle, and Dimitro was outside getting B-roll. Myself and Amy were inside getting clothes. So at one stage we left. We were like, where the fuck is Demetra? Like, we can't find them anywhere. And then we saw you cross the road and then walk up to American Eagle, and we called after you like fools, but obviously you couldn't hear us. So we went in, and the little attendant lady at the side of the door,
so cute.
she was so cute.
Yeah.
We were like, have you seen Big Muscle
Muscle.
Man? And she's like, oh, upstairs, yeah.
It wasn't even that. It was like a big smile came on her face, like, oh yeah, I know him. And then it was like upstairs. It was so cute, like,
It
honestly.
was so good.
And the guy in the fish market.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Demetra got free food from a guy because he just looked at him and was like, big muscle. Big muscle.
Hey, they feed me. I can't really complain about that. Like, gains are gains.
Yeah, one of the other interesting things is that I think before I came here, I would have had the perception that Japanese people are very efficient. That's very true, but when it comes to transport, it has not been plain sailing.
Maybe we're just not efficient enough for them.
True, but like if you compare to like anybody here is from listening to this from Ireland, you know that you'd never have to get more than like 2 trains to get pretty much anywhere. Like you could possibly go from town to House Junction and then House Junction to, I don't know, Skerries or something. But here, say for example, our route home today, we had to get onto literally 6 different trains. So Tokyo's so much bigger and the networks are so much vast than Ireland, obviously because we're a small country.
Like,
So
we're in fairness, like, Ireland has literally just one line.
Yeah.
So,
The Lewis or the dark. Well, I suppose.
yeah.
or like the lowest line is only kind of
Yeah.
the green and the red, and now they're connected, so there's only one line.
Yeah, true.
The Lewis is like our intercity sort of rail system. A bit like in Germany, it's a tram system.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sort of similar to that.
Well, I mean, that definitely makes sense because whenever I travel to other countries and I take public transportation, usually I can just figure it out myself, you know? I can just be
Quickly,
like, yeah,
yeah.
pretty quickly. But then here, it's like every like different stop, I have to like be like, where the fuck am I? Like,
Yeah.
I have to go up and ask like all the the information people because like I just cannot figure it out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know? Like I typed it in on Google Maps and
Oh,
it was
no.
like a 44-minute ride. It did not take 44 minutes.
Never
Demetra and I were coming home 2 nights ago. Amy had gone off to a friend, and we had been in Shibuya. Is that what it's called?
Shibuya.
Shibuya.
We were in Shibuya for 6 hours, getting sick footage. We got really good drone shots, but we left late. Left at around 11 p.m. and we were on the trains coming back home. We were obviously tired and stuff.
Starting off, we were on the second last train, and Google Maps told us to stay on the train and it would bring us all the way home. So naturally, we followed Google Maps. Turns out we were meant to come off at the last stop and change the rail. So when the train began going back, like taking his route from the last stop to the second last stop, we got off on the second last stop, and we got the next train going forward, and we got off on that stop that we were meant to get off. Turns out that train from which we actually got off on the right spot was the one that goes all the way here. And as well as that was the last train of the night.
And the 2 conductors were there, and as soon as we got off, it felt like something was wrong. And we like asked them, was that the last train? And they both started laughing, and they were like, that's the last train.
Did you ask them in Japanese? How'd they know what you were talking about?
I think it was fairly, no,
They
I
could
think
tell.
what you said was like,
They
when's,
could tell.
They knew.
no, Demetra was like,
It
when's
was
the
a
next
kind of
train to-
inside joke. They kind of they knew what you were doing. They let you off. 'Cause it was at the end of the day. They wanted like a little laugh. That's probably what
I
happened.
think Demetra said something like, when's the next train to
I was like, last train, like last train, like oh.
How did you guys get home?
We got a taxi, 40 quid. I live far away from like town. For me to get from like a night out in Coppers to home is 40 quid. We went literally the distance to go from Grafton Street probably to Dorset Street, and it cost €40.
Wow.
What do you think of the food here? Will?
So yeah, I mean the sushi here is way better. Like probably even the mediocre sushi is probably just better than anywhere in the U.S.
But would you eat sushi at home, like, or would this?
Yeah. So before I came here, I went to a all-you-can-eat like sushi place with my roommates in San Francisco.
Go on.
And it was, I mean, it was fine. Like I had a good time with my roommates, and they were kind of seeing me and my roommate off because we were both moving out. But like compared to here, I think if you forced a Japanese like sushi chef to eat at that place, they would think it was like a disgrace and not even like enter the building.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel after having the sushi here.
You were as an all you can eat.
Yeah.
How many plates? did you eat?
So probably like 1 or 2. I'm not. Yeah, I didn't want to. It wasn't that good.
Demo has something to tell you.
It just wasn't that tasty. But here it's so good. If I went to an all-you-can-eat sushi place here, I'd probably eat as much as I could.
How much would
So
that be?
tasty.
I want a number.
Probably like 16 to 20 pieces of like tasty nigiri, like good quality. Yeah.
Those are rookie numbers.
That's a really
Those are rookie numbers.
I have a theory that like, so I actually want like a restaurant that just serves me like 1 or 2 pieces and prices me at that piece, like the piece of 1 or 2 pieces, because I think like if you go to a restaurant, you just want like the taste of the restaurant, right? Like
What do you mean by the taste of the restaurant?
If you go to a ramen place here, I actually don't want all of the ramen and to pay like what is it $10 US, so like 1,200 like 1,200 yen, right? If I can just have like 3 or 4 like
Different tastes.
no, like 3 or 4 chopstick like full of ramen,
Yeah.
and then just like kind of, if I'm being budget conscious, just pay for that, I'll be good. Because that's all I want is like the experience of like tasting it. So I just want tasting menu like everywhere I go.
That's
But
really interesting.
you man though, you just want to like get big. So, yeah. I get. You need 3, 4 bowls of ramen, 30 bowls of ramen.
I want to hear your big boy numbers.
Yeah. What's a big boy number?
34 plates of sushi.
24,
34.
34. What's on the plate?
Oh, like eat a 6 rolls.
How many calories is that, man?
4,500 calories.
You eat 4,500 calories a day?
Oh,
No, like
I eat
3
more
times
a
a
day.
day.
I mean,
13,000
in one setting, I ate 34 plates, and that was 4,500
So
calories.
how many calories do you eat a day?
Depending on like what state I'm in. So like, if I'm cutting, like I could be anywhere for like 1,800 calories.
Yeah, 1,800 calories. That makes sense. But 34.
No,
Yeah,
that's,
but
that's really low
That's
for a
that's
male.
very low. That's
You'd
very
probably
low.
be eating somewhere like 3,000 a day.
Yeah. But 34 plates of sushi is much more than that.
Yeah, no, but to be fair, let's be fair. Obviously, you don't do that every day.
No.
that was like
That
a
was a
one-time
one day,
occasion.
yeah.
He actually ate. Wait, what?
Oh yeah, I'm not joking. Like, I do that thing. Like I held a record, like for
In Ireland, or like in a restaurant in Ireland, which is now closed down. R.I.P. Sushi.
Yeah.
That
Never.
Because of
you
Dima.
closed down the sushi place. Huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
They lost a lot of money,
And
yeah.
they're like, we can't afford
Yeah.
Dino anymore.
It's like they would close down the shop, and now before I come, like, oh no more sushi left.
For a normal human being, I'm fine with the tasting menu. Completely okay.
Right, now we're going to move on to the section called Money, Money, Money. And I have a theme tune for it that I'm going to play now.
Money, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world.
One of the big things when you're traveling, obviously, is how much money you spend. I myself have started saving up for this since September of last year. So different people have different methods. Some people save up loads to go away and spend it. Some people say if you're going to Canada, you're going to go over there and get a job, and hopefully when you come home, at the very least you break even, and hopefully you bring home some money to spare. That's because you're working like whatever 5 days a week. In my case, and in our case, like Amy and Dimitro's case, we're just spending money that we've saved up. A couple of things I've learned. So I have never lived away from home before. Hopefully I will be in September. And one of the big things I've noticed is that I spend money on stupid shit all the time. And from the different, like going to Budapest, going to probably not Galway. Where else did I go this year? Ibiza. Like going to those cities, the first day is always a day when you spend a lot of money, obviously because you're paying for accommodation, but also you're probably getting to places inefficiently. Like you might get a taxi to your hostel when you probably could have got a metro or some other cheaper form of transport. So here's a rundown of the different stuff that I've spent money on. I'll give a total first, and I'm going to break it down into total that would probably be for a normal person, and then total with additional stuff that I bought that nobody else probably would have bought, which is pretty stupid. I'm just going to finish what I did for today. Discretionary income, or sorry, non-discretionary income, I would put down as, we've been here for 4 days. This is at the end of our 4th day. I've spent about, including accommodation for the 4 days that we've been here, has been roughly €350. I'm going to pause this right here. So I miscalculated how much money I had spent. By my document here, by the end of day 4, I had spent €676 total. And then by day 7, which was yesterday, I had spent a total of £1,000. A couple of things that came from that. One was buying a camera lens. Another one obviously was paying for accommodation over the past couple of days, which is covering 4 days, which is a bit of an extra expense. I bought some presents, and I bought some shorts. So yeah, it is true. But now it's the end of day 8. I only spent €20 today, guys. You should be very freaking proud of me. And hopefully over the next 7, I've definitely learned a lot as to how to save from this guy behind the camera. So hopefully over the next 7 days, it'll be a lot cheaper than the first 7 days. Right, back to the main podcast, which is not horrendously
that's not bad.
That's like that was for food. That was for getting our 72-hour passes. That was for our accommodation. On top of that, I spent €300 on a 200 a €200 lens, a €40 hoodie, which I'm wearing right now, a jacket for my friend back at home.
So basically, you're saying these are like the costs you would have incurred anyway.
But I mean,
Because like
I know
these
how
are
much
things.
I've spent.
I mean, if you think about
Oh, I'm
Same
interested.
4 days, yeah.
For 4 days, how much you
Well, the
spent?
same 4 days. I've spent €210.
Okay.
Euro.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've spent €140 more than Amy. There you go.
it doesn't
Yeah.
seem that bad. But if you were to like think back and imagine spending that much money in 4 days, where you come from,
Yeah.
you'd
Yeah.
be like, what the fuck do I even do with my
Yeah.
money? Like,
Where did this even
Depends where you're from.
where did
but
it
yeah.
go?
Yeah.
Like looking
I guess
back
so,
through
like,
this,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on food. Even that
Yeah,
much.
I think.
A major
yeah.
thing, in my opinion, is back at home you can actually cook meals.
Great points.
So like instead of like buying out meals every single time, you can actually prep or like actually make meals and at much more cheaper rate. So for example, rather than buying a meal for €5, you can actually make meals, like 3 meals for the same cost, like at home.
But I think-
I f***ed up that statistic. I missed a pair of shorts that I bought, which are these. So I only spent €270, which isn't as bad as I thought. That's only €60 more than
Okay,
Amy.
yeah.
And
But that includes my jacket. Take away my jacket.
No, but I included my jacket as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So it was €60 more than Amy. We also had to pay for an unexpected taxi home, and then I think the other €40-50
Well,
would
you
have been food.
save 170
Yeah, you spend
yen,
more
though.
on food.
170 yen.
Yes.
That's like $2.
Hey, man, savings are savings.
So when the conductors told us that we had to get a taxi, Dimitri was like, "Fucking, I'm walking." I was like, "What the fuck do you mean you're walking? I want to get a taxi." And then we were joking on the way back because for guys who don't know, our hostel is one stop after the metro, so our passes don't work for that last stop that we get off just at here. So we have to pay €1.70 every single time. So Dimitri was like, "At least we saved €1.70 by getting this taxi," which is so stupid.
Look at the bright side, you know. Be optimistic.
What would you guys have any? I'm not someone to give advice in terms of saving money, but at least I can say how much I've spent so people get an idea. Would you
Yeah.
guys have any ideas as to how people could save money while they're traveling?
But I think what's different from other trips I've done, I usually go out for meals and like we haven't really sat in a restaurant and had lunch and dinner, which like I usually would do on most trips. So I think I've saved money. I know it might not sound like it, but I have saved money in comparison. With the boys, like you guys go into the supermarket normally to get a lot of food. You wouldn't go into a restaurant, and I think that saves a lot of money. Well, for me anyway, because I'll just go into the supermarket and buy just a sandwich or whatever I need for that time, rather than a restaurant where it's really expensive.
So one tip, maybe this is just for me, but try not to go to bars too much.
Yeah,
'Cause
we
I
also
feel like-
haven't. Yeah,
I feel like for me, whenever I go to a bar, I start
extra.
drinking, and then I don't stop drinking. And then I'm like in such a good mood, I'll be like, hey, I'll buy you a drink, I'll buy you a drink, blah, blah, blah. And that's where all my money goes. I mean, I say that as I'm having a drink.
yeah, the only one having the drink.
The scary thing is that I don't even drink as well. Dimitro has been living away from home for a long time, and he has an Excel spreadsheet on his laptop. I'm not sure if you have it for here, just of general spending. I would say from what I've learned over the past day or so, having like, so one thing I noticed today, right? I bought this, I stand by my purchase. But if I had a budget to say I'm only going to spend, let's for argument's sake, €100 on presents and stuff for myself, on top of everything like accommodation and food, then at least I'd have a little goal in my head. Whereas otherwise you just go, like I find anyway, you go around shops and you'll sort of, if the money's there, you'll almost justify it anyway and just sort of buy it. Now obviously I'm not like everybody, but some people, if they have money saved up without a goal in mind, I think that type of stuff would happen. What would you think?
Well, like I generally tend to budget in advance. So like I know I have a few more trips coming up. So like I know if I spend my money right here, right now, I won't be able to afford as much in my upcoming trips and like my upcoming purchases. So like just bear in mind like what you can actually afford, because like when you are away from home, people do tend to go into holiday mode. Like you are happier and like, well, I have the money here, I'm gonna spend it. They don't really think about the consequences of what's gonna happen when they get back home. You know, when like the good times wear off. But in terms of saving money when you're actually away kind of on holidays, do enjoy yourself, but like, I kind of tend to kind of eat out, not to eat out as much and prep as much as possible. So like before I came to Japan this week, I was in Croatia a lot for entirety of the week before that, and like for entirety of the week I would cook all of my meals, and I saved like 200-300 euros rather than kind of eating out every single meal. And like as well as just kind of saving money, you are eating kind of better. Like you don't eat as much junk as well. And generally, when you cook yourself, you know the food is fresh, so like, you have a bit more kind of a influence about what you eat.
One of the reasons why I started this podcast was that I wanted to share like my experience of it. Not only the cool times of getting sick Instagram pics with this guy, but also how you grow as a person. And I think even over the past few days, I've come to understand a few things like. When you live at home and you don't have to pay rent and you just live in your hometown and you're used to spending €5 a day on your chicken fillet roll and chocolate bar and stuff, you just don't take into account having to like live very efficiently when it comes to money, because you're probably earning like 80, €150 a week with your part-time job, so it's not that big of an issue. So I feel like if you travel for a long period of time, and even if you travel for a long period of time, you'll develop a method to trying to extend the amount of time you can travel by saving money. Because I definitely feel like if I continue to do this, I wouldn't be going anywhere in August. I know for a fact, so I'm obviously gonna have to change stuff, because I'm not made of money. No young person is.
Ironic. For me, it's kind of the opposite. My job works me a lot. we'll leave it at that. And so for this trip, I kind of just wanted to get away from everything, because like I live with my brother, and I kind of support him. Kind of basically is that at this point. And so like I'm always like worrying about like money, because I don't make too much, but I've been saving up a lot. But like here, like eventually life gets kind of stressful and stuff like that, there's like a bunch of things when you spend too freely, and that causes problems. But like if you like box yourself and you're too strict, I feel like that causes problems as well. So like for me, this trip was kind of the opposite. Like I looked at my paycheck and I was like, fuck it, let's buy a ticket, because I bought my ticket like a week ago maybe.
Oh my god.
That's cool though. Yeah.
I was like, fuck it, I've always wanted to go I've never been to Asia before, I always wanted to go, so I was like, screw it, let's go.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
She's never thought of that. It was a great idea getting guys in the podcast.
Well, you're working full time, yeah. So that will probably happen to us in the future. It's a good tip to have.
Yeah. I also think, I'm not sure I feel a bit stressed out as a student, but I feel like once the older you get and you have more, not to say you're very old, but like the more responsibilities you get, those stresses are going to creep on you more and more, and stuff like travel and freedom and stuff seems to become more important.
Yeah, because the thing is, you don't notice it, because when you're working that much, you just kind of forget about everything else, because you're so occupied on, I need to do this, I need a good job, I need a good technique, because you don't want to get fired, you need to make sure you're keeping up, because like if you don't, like where's rent gonna come from, it's easy to just forget about like the good things in life, it's easy to forget to take it easy, so you kind of have to remind yourself, because like as students you have this balance where you don't want to goof off too much, but when you get older, sometimes you have to find a balance in the opposite way, you don't goof off enough. If that makes any sense.
Man, great quote. That was so sick. Okay, so this has been really good. I think I'd like to finish off. It's probably going to be a few more minutes. But if you want to say like we'll start with you guys first. Other than here, are you traveling anywhere over summer other than here? And if you're not, where would you like to go in the future? Will.
You first. Gotta think a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not traveling anywhere this summer because all my money went to this trip.
Hey man, let's give him a clap for that. That was her play.
But hopefully later this year I can come back to Asia somewhere. I'm thinking maybe like Thailand or Korea or something like that. Because I've traveled because I was in the military. Every couple of years I had to move around. So I lived in like Central America, the States, and in Europe a lot. So I hope I can experience the other side of the world a little bit more.
That's cool, man. Respect.
So I traveled. So whenever I travel alone. So I've been to South America and Asia alone.
Why?
I mean, part of it's logistic. Like, it's hard to get kind of friends to plan out the time. I have a bunch of friends that come here actually, but a lot of them are like working during this time, like summer internships and things like that. But so when I do travel alone, I think it's easy to get like lonely if you are traveling alone for like long periods of time. So like this time I'm only traveling alone for 10 days, but last time I was traveling alone for like 3 months, which is 90 days, which is quite a bit. And there are periods where it does get very lonely. So I would say I'm not traveling again this summer, but so I'm not traveling alone again this summer, but I would like to visit friends who are working in like New York, San Francisco, etc. Because I think it's important to like see friends while you're traveling or be with them for a certain amount of time. And the other thing is like both like personally, I just don't like traveling with other people because I think one of the things that actually helps me save a lot of money is my friends like to spend a lot and I like to save a lot. And one thing you might notice if you're traveling with friends who like to spend a lot, it's kind of weird when you say, no, I'm not going to this restaurant, this activity, or I'm not staying with you in this expensive hotel because I'm going to stay here, eat here, and like do this. So it's like you're almost traveling alone. But just like visiting friends, I think is a good middle ground of not having to travel with them and like spend all the money if you're thinking about money, but also like seeing them. So, yeah. So I'd like to see my friends in different cities without having to actually like live with them.
That's really cool, man. Amy, if you want to talk about like
so when I fly home, I go to the other side of the world. I'm going to Central America for a month. So I'm going to Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Costa Rica, Cuba, all those weird and wonderful countries. So that's with 3 other friends. So I'm really excited for that. But I'd also really, where I want to go to in the future is Peru, because I just have some kind of fascination with Peru and Machu Picchu. So that would be my one destination that I really want to go to.
One recommendation, because I lived in Central America. I was born there.
Oh, cool.
When you go there, try to go to like the very like niche local markets. I've found that they have like the coolest, freshest food.
Yeah. Where were you born?
Honduras.
Oh, I went to Honduras 2 years ago. Yeah, I was volunteering in Nicaragua, and we went up to Honduras and then El Salvador. So
That's cool.
That's cool.
Big man, where are you going? You're going to the gym. That's where you're going.
Is it closed yet? No.
It's closed in 3 minutes. So.
I'm gone. Well, first part is probably going to be Bray.
Nobody's going to get this gym.
I know. Anyway, so.
It's a place in Ireland.
This is Bray. Shout out
It's
to
not
my
a nice
peeps in
place.
Bray.
Yeah.
Shout out to Katie Taylor.
Yeah, so as soon as I get back from Japan, I'm going off to Ukraine for 2 weeks. Then after that, I am potentially going to Spain for a week as well, but that has not to be confirmed because I have to study for FE1s. For those who don't know, FE1s are the great bountiful law exams.
Kill your soul.
And Dimitri's undergraduate.
Is it Ireland law exam?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
Okay. What are they called?
FE1.
FE1s.
FE1. And is that like the equivalent of the bar in the United States? Like you get your legal license?
It's like the stage 1
And-
of it.
okay.
It's like the entrance exam.
Before
to the
graduate
bar,
school?
kind of.
So it's kind of a...
We don't have to do graduate.
So if
Oh,
we,
really? You just do 4
We
years,
do.
take the exam, and you're a lawyer.
So we did...
No.
Oh,
That
okay.
made it sound really simple.
I mean, that's not simple. That's not simple. You still have to do
I
4
wish.
years and
We
take the test.
did. We do 4 years of college,
Yeah.
so it's like we did 4 years of law. Then we had to do FE1 exams. So those are kind of entry exams
Right.
into.
It's the LSAT, basically.
Basically,
It's
yeah,
like the
into the Law
graduate- yeah.
Society, yeah.
Yeah.
And then once you're there, you do,
Training
Society. That
contract.
sounds
Yeah.
pretty cool.
yeah. So, yeah, you'll be
So-
doing step 1, basically.
You guys can study together, though. You guys can study together, you two.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing yet with my life, so I need to sort out if I want to be a lawyer or a business or
Wait
what.
till see your results
or nothing
tomorrow
or
for
a
you.
traveller or
Then you can study and then you can tutor her for travel money after.
I don't think he'd have the patience for me to God bless him.
Maybe you can be a professional chip delivery person around the world.
You never know. You never know where I'll end up, to be honest.
But yeah, like another kind of two spots I really want to go to. Like one of them is definitely Iceland. Because like that place just seemed absolutely unreal.
Interesting.
Like made for Instagram.
Yeah.
And then another one is kind of Morocco. I don't know why. Just like
Yeah.
seems quite a contrast, and like I like going to different places. So like rather than going to kind of similar places like just Europe, like Asia would be kind of another kind of destination. So like I'm starting off with Tokyo, Japan, because like I always kind of that was my main goal always to kind of get here first, and then like I'll slowly begin taking off the countries over the past 2 years. Over the next 2 years.
Yeah, sick. So I'm the same as Amy in that I leave on the 26th, and in July, like late July, I'm going to walk the Camino. It's actually something I did it last year for 5 days. It's something that a lot of Americans do, be it when they finish college, they're retired, they've had some form of life crisis, or they just want to get answers to questions. It's like a really long road that you can walk in Spain that's in stages, and you can walk it over 40 days. So I'm
40?
doing-
That's
yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, you could cycle it in half that time. It's 750 kilometers, I think.
Huh.
Yeah. So I'm walking days 5 to 14 or 5 to 13 or something, and then hopefully if I still have the money, I'll be able to go to like European cities in August. Sean Dupe is one of my best friends. He's in Berlin over summer, so I'll probably go and visit him. One thing I would say, if you guys are ever interested in the Camino, you won't spend a lot of money because you can't, because like there isn't shops really along the way. All you can do is buy food and water.
Well, so how does it work? Like, do you camp? Like, where do you sleep?
You sleep in hostels.
Okay.
And there's hostels in you go to like a new village every day. So you get up at something like 6 or 7, you walk till around 1, so you walk 20 to 30 kilometers a day, and then you just book into a hostel, and it's only pilgrims. That's what it's called. It's called it's a pilgrimage. It's not really religious for a lot of people. Like, I'm not religious, but you book into the pilgrims hostel, which is like 10 to 12 euro, and then you pay for like a pilgrim's meal, and then you get some food and supplies on the way, and you just walk as far as you want. Pretty cool. Like, I found it very fulfilling, and it's very.
Have you done it before? Or?
I've done the first 5 days last year, so and then my school also did like a cycling trip. I didn't take part in it, but I sort of knew of it from a young age and stuff like that. So, guys, that was lit. Well done, everyone. Viewers at home, everybody on this table, I want you to give them a clap from your beautiful desktop table, because none of them have done a podcast before, and it was very good of them to be spontaneous and just say yes to doing something like this.
We all get paid for this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you guys later. No.
Are you well?
Are you well? So that was episode 3 of the What's the Crack podcast. See you guys next. Well, you'll see a vlog on Sunday, but then the next episode of this podcast will be next Wednesday from Kyoto, potentially. Where's the one after Kyoto?
Right.
Bray. Kyoto or Bray. See you guys then.
Thanks for listening to the What's the Crack podcast. See you next time.